Back around the late 90s and early 2000s, WWE, known as WWF still at the time, did a promotion where they had their famous superstars appear in commercials advertising Chef Boyardee, particularly the ravioli beefaroni. You can definitely see there's no shame in showing the violence and stuff to the kids. Anyway, some of their most prominent and obvious stars appeared in these. Mankind was the most frequent one shown, but also they had Booker T, Big Show, Chris Jericho, The Rock, and even Kane. I'm sure Stone Cold would have appeared in one, but he was probably too drunk. You may notice that there's a superstar, however, who was pretty big and well known at the time and throughout all of his history in the career that's missing from this. That's right, the Undertaker. Why didn't he get a Chef Boyardee commercial? After all, his brother Kane did. Well, they were making one. However, it can never be put on the air because of how awfully, horribly wrong it all went. But I'm here now to tell you the story of the Undertaker's Chef Boyardee commercial. So the set was going on as usual. They did their other filmings and commercials. They had the Undertaker there. And they had a plot for the commercial that would fit with the Undertaker's gimmick. His grave-digging one, where he would be burying alive Big Hunger and undigging the big flavor of Chef Boyardee beefaroni. They began shooting. They start with ominous shots that you could tell were supposed to still be just referential and tongue-in-cheek of what seems to be an empty field near a graveyard. And it's all thunderous and, ooh, the Undertaker. And you would overhear him talking alongside with some people wearing robes of how there's only one thing that can truly bury and contain the energy that is my hunger. And then you see him digging off a shovel, and that is Chef Boyardee's beefaroni, meaty flavor taste. And then Paul Bearer would join in, his dad, and be like, that's right, only one thing can truly tame the unquenchable hunger of the Undertaker. And then you would see the Undertaker sitting down at a table like normal and eating the Chef Boyardee out of a bowl or some plates, normal stuff. However, as the Undertaker was preparing to do this, thunder struck the ground and you could hear the bell tolls. A hand emerged from the ground, shocking everybody. A live body then started coming off the ground where the hand was. And what came out was an older-looking man in a white chef's uniform. Who was it? It was none other than Chef Boyardee himself, who's been rolling in his grave ever since Chef Boyardee food, quote-unquote, came out onto shelves. He ranted about this himself, criticizing and spitting upon the canned ravioli, and he looked all dirty and zombified and green and gruesome with red eyes. And he claimed that for doing this, he was going to bury alive the WWF and everybody who is eating the Chef Boyardee, including the children, especially the children. Obviously, the Undertaker would not stand for this, and even Kane came out to join him in trying to fight the Chef Boyardee zombie. And Paul Bear started talking mad shit to Chef Boyardee, and he was like, "If you think you can take on the Brothers of Destruction, then you got one thing coming." And he looked over to Kane and the Undertaker, 'cause little did he know that Chef Boyardee's beefaroni was Paul Bearer's favorite meal. And he pointed at Boyardee, and he spoke to his sons, and he was like, "I am your father. Promise me you'll do this one thing for me if you never do anything else. Destroy him!" And you could hear King go like, "Whoa." They started fighting each other, and at first, they were doing a pretty decent job at containing Chef Boyardee. However, suddenly, Chef Boyardee sneakily pulled a chair out from behind a tree, and he started bashing them in the face with it. And JR went like, "God damn it, King, this was all a ploy by Chef Boyardee all this time." And then King was like, "Oh, come on, JR, you said what they said about his cooking." And then, as they were trying to recuperate themselves, The Rock came out, and he was like, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking." And then he started talking shit about not canned Chef Boyardee, but the cooking of Chef Boyardee himself. And he's like, "You candy ass sack of shit. If you think your jabroni ass little hands has the excuse to touch this ravioli, then you got one thing coming to you. Suck it." Boyardee was furious, and he started battling with The Rock. However, The Rock managed to overpower Boyardee, but then he got distracted, and he started getting overly cocky and zealous, and he went on the mic and started taunting about what a candy-ass piece of shit Chef Boyardee is, and he hit on some random woman who was really bad and awkwardly hilarious at acting, and she ran off crying. And as he was distracted, somebody tried warning The Rock that Chef Boyardee was coming. He was like, "What?" And then Chef Boyardee tackled him and started choking him out. This was, however, long enough of a distraction for Paul Bearer to get his sons back up and fight Boyardee. However, upon doing that, Boyardee picked up Paul Bearer, and he started yelling and freaking out. He was like, "Change trains!" And he pile-drived Bearer onto the ground head first, and he was like, "I sneezed in my pants, Kane!" And the Undertaker was left distraught by this. Frozen, solid, blue screen of death. King tried fighting Boyardee and lighting him on fire, but he just couldn't manage to do so. And the Road Dogg, Jesse James, and Billy Gunn just pointed there and laughed, and they got hit by a steel chair too. And then Mankind came out, and he fought Boyardee, and he did really well. However, it still wasn't enough, and he was getting tumbled around and ragtagged and bled out and stuff. Of course, because he's Mick Foley, this has to happen to him. However, among all the chaos, the glass shattered and Stone Cold came out, and JR was like, "By God, King, it's Stone Cold." And he came out and gave Boyardee the Stone Cold Stunner. However, Boyardee got up and twisted his head around and started laughing, and Stone Cold just decided to leave and angrily throw his hat over at Boyardee and McMahon, who was just angrily watching the whole time, possibly up to this. And Mankind continued to try to be the only one fighting off Boyardee on top of a building, as the Undertaker was still distraught, and Mankind tried fighting Boyardee more and more. However, he got put through a fiery table and then proceeded to fall off the entire skyscraper and go like, wow, because he's Mick Foley. This has to happen to him every time, the poor guy. However, it was then where the Undertaker was finally prepared, and thunder struck, even taking the gaze of Boyardee over. The Undertaker rushed over, and Boyardee kicked him in the face, knocking him off the ground. However, he immediately rose up, blank and dead in the eyes, unfazed. Boyardee seemed startled. The Undertaker grabbed him by the neck and chokeslammed him into the ground. He then lifted up Boyardee upside down, and he was like, "This time you will rest in peace," and tombstone pile driver Boyardee back into his own grave, burying him alive or undead or dead again or something. He then played his victory music and did his pose where he kneels down and lifts his arm up into the sky. After that, everybody seemed relatively unharmed, even Mankind, who did this for the big taste of all of mankind. However, WWF decided that they could not show this on TV. They could not disclose that Chef Boyardee rose from the dead. That would give such a bad public image. So they forever locked this away with their deepest, darkest secrets. Other ones that are so obscure and hidden that nobody else even knows about them or are sure if they're real. Just like the canceled In Your House pay-per-view special.